Hello and welcome to episode 58 of the Fish Tank. So, as I'm sure everyone knows, the year 58 was the year which Emperor Ming Dai took over as the Emperor of China. And the year 58 was also the same year that Ming Campbell, former leader of the Liberal Democrats, was born. And also convenient it's episode 58 because episode 58, or number 58, is 58 more than the number of people who died in last week's earthquake. So it's time for Apology of the Week now. On last week's show, apparently I was meant to give a mention to my friend Mark. You know, apparently the Fish Tank seems to like turn into a bit of a request show, sort of similar to Jimmy Savile, the older now then, I have had a request, all that kind of thing. But it's not really that kind of show. I'm not Steve Wright's Sunday Love Songs. I don't put in requests as such. But yeah, I have been asked to give him a mention, and you know, he's upset they didn't get one. So, hello Mark, you know, there's your mention. Scott asked me to apologise to him again, so sorry Scott. My friend Joe asked to clarify what I meant by last week's headline, because apparently it should have meant that there was a runner running on the inside lane of him as opposed to inside the other runner. So sorry about that. But the complaint I would actually like to make, or the apology I would like to make, is about giving the incorrect time for last week's earthquake, where I said that the earthquake struck at 2:54. Well, it didn't. It struck at 12:54 or 12:56 or something like that. I got a bit confused with the old 24-hour clock or something like that. So it was just before 1 o'clock in the morning, basically. Not really all that much of a serious earthquake. I did on last week's show ask what you should do in the event of an earthquake. Got one response, which was that Joe Solway said that. What's the most dangerous thing you could be doing in an earthquake? And Joe Solway said fungalism is the most dangerous thing you could be doing in an earthquake. He said fungalism, I'll let you work out what that is by yourself. Obviously, as anyone knows, once you've typed it into Google, it means tightrope walking. So would be a very dangerous thing to do in an earthquake. My last week's show had quite a few viewers. Jimbo's special earthquake video had about 7,000 viewers, a ridiculous amount. He's had people asking him, you know, his MSN address, which I've never had. He's had all sorts of requests and stuff like that. He's even had people asking him if he's gay, which granted I've actually had as well, but I'm not, and please don't ask that again, you sort of slightly obsessed, strange person. I mean, the person who's asking me if I'm gay is strange and obsessed. Yeah, so it was. People are saying, like, in the event of an earthquake, you should like hide underneath your desk or stand in a door frame. Personally speaking, I'd rather like stand on top of my wardrobe or something like that, because then you're higher up towards the ceiling. So if the whole house collapses on top of you, you want to be as high up as possible, so it's easier to climb out. You would have thought. So I don't know. And standing in the door frame next to the door is no good if your house has collapsed. You can't just walk outside anyway, just because you stood in the door frame. Don't quite work like that. But, apparently it was quite a big tremor because they heard it in northern France. As a result, the French surrendered, just in case, obviously, just edging the bets and all that. But also, while I'm talking about wars and all that kind of thing, Prince Harry has been out on the front line in Afghanistan. Since he's now transferred to the front page of every newspaper, so Frontline's front page and all that. And if you were wondering what it'd be like having Prince Harry in the army, I think my t-shirt, or well, the t-shirt I'm wearing, lent to me by Ant for today's episode, perhaps sums it up perfect what it'd be like in the army. There we go, picture of a man in a tank with the words "to the pub" written on it. So I think that's quite what it'd be like. Apparently he enjoyed being out in Afghanistan because he enjoyed the privacy. Well, that's what I read in the newspaper and saw on the television and heard on the radio. So sounds like a very private life to me. So of course he's nicknamed the Bullet Magnet by all his colleagues in the army, but obviously not by the people who are out on the front line with him. They don't find that nickname all that amusing, presumably. Also, one thing that's been happening at the weekend was the Eurovision You Decide contest, where we announced our winner for who's going to represent us at Eurovision. Terry Wogan announced the winner. It was won by Andy Abraham, who used to be on the X Factor. Terry Wogan obviously announced that the winner was Abraham Andy. But there you go, that's Wogan for you. So it's time for the Celebometer now, and do what I like on the show. I'd quite like Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson, as they might be having a boxing match, a bout, as you call it. Yeah, it's the fight that everyone's wanting to see and can't wait for, and in fact did see back in 1996, and then again in 1997, when they were, let's be fair, probably both a little bit past the best in those times. So now, when they've got a combined age of I think about 84, and basically they're slugging it out for just to try and sort of, it's mainly for health reasons, I think, is the main reason they want the fight. They really want to sort of get the bank balance a lot healthier. That's, I think, the main reason to do it. But presumably there'll be a massive audience who just tune in just to see if Tyson bites Holyfield's ear again. So can't imagine I'm going to bother watching it because it's just two old people fighting, basically. Can get that down at a local pub sometimes. So there you go, it's time for the headline of the week now. This headline comes from the Evening Standard, and it's talking about the economy, and it says money crisis. Brown calls for change. So I know every little helps, but sort of when we've got like a massive shortfall, like with Northern Rock, that's sort of taking up £2 billion or whatever, we don't really want to be relying on coppers to boost the economy. We want something a bit more substantial than your spare change that you find down the back of a sofa. But as I say, every little bit, helps and all that. And quote of the week this week comes from Alan Jackson on BBC Merseyside Radio, talking about Rafa Benitez and David Moyes. He says both Rafa Benitez and David Moyes have said that they won't be having another number 2 until the end of the season. So presumably, hopefully he's talking about an assistant manager as opposed to a different type of number 2. So you'd have thought Rafa Benitez would rather need one, as it looks like he might not be able to get into 4th place and get a Champions League spot for next year, and will probably get the sack, as you could say. But that's about all. But before I go, it's just leave you with the news. I've just seen that Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey from the rock band The Who have been down to Battersea Dogs Home and have released loads of Yorkshire Terriers, German Shepherds, Poodles and Greyhounds, and the police have said that it was The Who let the dogs out. So there you go. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.